Here's my first one, JT. And I already know you gave me a weird look when I said this is my first overall pick. I don't think MPF is under nearly as much pressure as his new coach, Bill Callahan. I think Bill Callahan is under as much, if not more, pressure this season than anybody else in the Titans organization. And here's the reason why. The primary point here is that the legend of Bill Callahan over the last 2 months has grown to the point of there being so little margin for error for him. There's a reason that you and I on this show have been preaching he's a fantastic coach, but he's not a miracle worker. And you're like, you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to realize that some guys just don't cut it. You're going to have to realize that coaching offensive linemen, it is a slow process. This is not an overnight thing necessarily. And I think when you compare him to the past offensive line coaches the Titans have had, not only does he come in with the reputation that precedes him, and he, people are talking about him as this masterful guru, the best offensive line coach in the NFL, not even remotely in the same league as the past couple of guys that have been O-line coaches for the Titans. He also comes in without the plausible deniability that I think those past coaches had, with the minimal talent to work with in that room. Like, Bill doesn't really have much of an excuse when you look at the people he has to work with. You've got arguably the best lineman that was available in the 2023 draft in Peter Skoronski, second-year player, surgery behind him, clearly bulked up, clearly stronger, clearly more comfortable in his role as a guard than the tackle position where he played in college. He should be a good lineman under your tutelage. And you got a top 10 tackle in the 2024 draft. Yeah, he's a rookie, but you handpicked him. It was a somewhat controversial selection at the time, and he's being given the benefit of the doubt. The Titans organization is being given the benefit of the doubt for that pick. Primarily, JT, what was the number one thing folks were saying? Well, if Bill Callahan likes the guy, who am I to say that was the wrong pick? But that is weighing at the feet of Bill Callahan. And then they went and signed a young veteran center in Lloyd Cushenberry that is supposed to be a bona fide starter, a plus starter for them. And so 3/5 of this offensive line at minimum, even if they have, if it's a disaster at right tackle, disaster at right guard, 3/5 of this offensive line is undeniably talented enough, is being brought in under the auspices of expecting a minimum level of performance where, in the NFL, when 3/5 of your O-line is talented enough to work, that is enough for you to function as a team just fine. You could have how many NFL lines where it's 5 out of 5 guys, these guys would be starters on any team? It's not many of them, right? You got to work with what you've got in the NFL. And the Titans in the recent past have had 2, 1, 0 starting offensive linemen. You got 3 now. And so the ultimate point here is that not only is he under the pressure we've given him by his reputation, but also the Titans offense, that's the focus of this season heading in, that it's going to be different. It's going to be revolutionary. Look at these weapons they brought in. Will Levis here too. Brian Callahan. Oh, I can't wait for the system, right? Who's responsible for the straw that stirs that offensive drink? It's Bill Callahan's offensive line. All of the work that they have done, the team has done to this roster for this year to work with Will Levis, for this year to work with the new scheme, it can't properly function without his unit improving in a hurry. So that's why I think Bill Callahan is under a significant amount of pressure this season.
To say that Bill Callahan is under pressure is one of the most heinous things I've ever heard in my entire life.
Did you have that scripted out? Was that going to be the response no matter what I said?
I think just uttering the words that Bill Callahan is under pressure, first of all, it is absolutely diabolical and disgraces his name.
I just laid out a fantastic argument, and I think Callahan, in one ear out the other.
Here's why I think your argument is null and void, because Bill Callahan, I just don't see him failing with what he's done right now.
Well, that is such an unfalsifiable response.
When you look
he's not under pressure because he can't fail, huh?
Because when you look at the context. And maybe this is my year to do it because you did it last year and got absolutely burned on this. And maybe it's now mine.
I'm not doing it.
I do not
I'm sure I'm not doing it.
I do not see a conceivable world where this offensive line this year is any worse than it was last year. And sure. I know that you said that to Mike Herndon last year, and guess what? It absolutely blew up.
I did not say it to Mike Herndon. I said it to everybody repeatedly for months.
Okay. Let me say that to me now. I'm saying it to everyone as well.
Okay.
I do not see a world in which this offensive line is worse than last year. I think that this line And it's a big key distinction right there, is because in years past, the guys that they have brought in for these offensive line, you are right that it is a little different this year, because the offensive line, players that they have brought in years past for the offensive line coaches probably were not necessarily decisions made by the offensive line coach.
No.
I think a
Yes.
weight that Bill Callahan has to bring in the guys that he knows can work, because he has the experience and he has the years on years on years of doing this, I think speaks volumes. You look at a guy like Lloyd Cushenberry, who, when they talked to him about Lloyd, he was over the moon ecstatic about bringing this guy in, saying, we have to have this guy, a young guy who, is going to work in the Bill Callahan scheme that he almost feels like he wanted in Cleveland before he was drafted, right? You talk about a guy, JC Latham. You said, oh, it's not really the sexy pick, but it's Bill Callahan's guy, because Bill Callahan knows what he wants. And we've seen this time and time again. You go back in the last decade, and I can look at 2 times. We've talked about this the entirety of this offseason of ways that he, has done this before, bringing in, going into that Dallas Cowboys line, with the young talent that they had, also having a hand in handpicking that in 2012 to 2014, where we were arguably talking about the Dallas Cowboys as the best offensive line in the entire league. Go to the Cleveland Browns, where he brings in the Alabama guy. I'm blanking on his name now. I'm getting Tristan Wirfs in my head. Yes,
in Cleveland, Jedrick Wills.
Jedrick Wills, there it is. Bringing him in. as Sony said in the comments here, bringing Jedrick Wills and changing him to the left side, and they now have a top 5 unit there. Bringing in these guys, you talked about this weekend, where Bill Callahan's talking about bringing in guys like Leroy Watson, these guys on the cheap that may have not been viable starters, but he has something that works in his scheme. And so for that reason, I think, just looking at, the experience that Bill Callahan has and, what we think that he can do, I really don't see a world where he can fail, because we talk about when Bill Callahan was brought in by the Titans. It's really crazy to say that when Bill Callahan was brought in during that Senior Bowl week, we talked about how, oh my God, what a huge, yeah, that's fair. What a huge...
I win. He admitted I win, by the way.
Is that okay? Whatever. Well, if the second choice is Bill Callahan, I don't know if anybody's going to win at all.
Can I defend myself against your rebuttal here?
One more thing.
Finish. I'll let you finish.
During the Senior Bowl week, we talked about how drastically of an upgrade this was,
right,
for Bill Callahan to come in, and how much Cleveland is going to miss that dude. To now say that he's under the pressure that, if this doesn't work out, like, this is a mind that has been working on this stuff for the past 25 years.
Yes.
If it doesn't work in the beginning, I don't think that's a problem whatsoever, because like you said, it takes time. So if anybody's going to think that after 2 or 3 weeks of the NFL season, that Bill Callahan is a bust because this line isn't working together yet, I think is absolutely insane.
Okay, I think your argument's a poor one, and here's why. All I'm hearing is not that he's not under pressure. I'm hearing a lot of, he's not under pressure because I don't think he's going to do poorly. That's not how that works. Like,
yes,
Patrick Mahomes is under a lot of pressure with the Chiefs. That's not because everyone thinks he's going to fail. It's because if he's not good, you got problems. And as Shrike says here in the comments, his track record means, this is Shrike saying, his track record in terms of Bill Callahan means that if players fail, it's on the players. Let's think through some scenarios that could go wrong with this offensive line, right? If it's week 8 and we're like, man, Lloyd Cushenberry has been dreadful. It's been a problem. He like the interior of the offensive line, it's not working, and it's in large part because of Lloyd Cushenberry. You tell me we're not going to be then saying, hey, Bill, this was your guy. Like, what's going on here? What is the disconnect? And it's not that we know this guy can't play center in the NFL, because we saw him for 4 years with the Denver Broncos. He can play center in the NFL. Okay, let's take it to the left tackle position. He's a rookie, so like there's room for this. But if we get to near the end of the season and it's like, man, maybe year 2 will be lights on for JC Latham. But so far in year 1, It has been stagnant. I don't know if this is going to work. Really, I don't see a whole lot of growth, or it's been so up and down. I don't know what the deal is here. We're not going to say, hey, Bill, that's your guy. What is the issue here? What's going on here? If they get to week 17 and this line as a whole is still, bottom 5 pass protection, and I'm not saying it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be. I think this is going to go well. I'm just saying, in a world in which it does not work, he is going to be the one who is scrutinized. Not the fact that, he's got no players to play with. Not the fact that, these players stink. If it is these players stink, they're his players. They're the guys he went and got. So he's the one that's going to be responsible for that.
And that's just the big assumption that a guy who has this much history of having a successful offensive line group finally fails because it's the Tennessee Titans. I think that's what
and that's going to be Cope. That's going to be Cope.
That's the only reason I think you're saying that, because why have we? How can we look back at the history of what he's done to poor offensive line groups and seen him work his magic, and now say that it's not there? There's a really big reason that it might not work this year. Like, this is the same scenario that he has been in time and time again. And for him to say that he can't do it now because he might be like in a different situation.
I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying he's under pressure because the fact that you are so certain he's going to do it, I think, is further proving my point that if he does not, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a really big problem
because the Titans are definitely looking to contend in 2024. Like, this is a team that is back on track. I think this is still...
Does that excuse their offensive line getting no better? Certainly not.
Well, I don't think that's even in the realm of possibility, because once again,
they're for sure getting better. I forgot.
They are for sure getting better. So, there's just... To call Bill Callahan having pressure on him when I am trusting him fully to know what he is doing is just how I think that is just an insane argument.
Okay, well, we're 30 minutes in. We've got other things to talk about, so we'll move on. I made my case. Folks in the comments seem to be siding with you. I'm afraid that you're all mistaken, but that's okay.